Jyoti, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Great. So, hey everyone, today we are going to talk about backend as a service. What is it and why you should care? Um, Before I start, I just want to know if you all know about software as a service or what is popularly known as SaaS. Let me know in the chat if you have heard of it. And also, a lot of you might have heard of, different when you learn about cloud computing, you must have learned about, okay, there are different types of customizations available. You can have SaaS, you can have PAS, and you can have IaaS. But as in when I'm spending more time in the industry, I have realized that this is just the few of the things that we have heard of when we are in college, but a lot more exists in the industry. So I have been talking to friends who are working in companies which primarily focus on database. So these companies are DaaS, which is database as a service. And similarly for each of the services, that can be shipped as a service, all of them are, there are companies out there, and there are startups out there, and there are big companies which are also working on these things, as well as startups like AppWrite are there. So, it's very important to know that this is something that is trending and it is going to be there because it's like a service. It's available on the cloud and anyone can use it. So it's great to know that you all have heard of SaaS, and backend as a service is just a specialization there, that okay, now you can also serve your backend as a service. So you can say that it's one type of SaaS. Great. So before I start, Jyoti has already introduced me, but I'll still give a brief introduction. So I am Khushbu. I am working as a software engineer at AppWrite, and I have worked at Microsoft as a software engineer. Before that, I also did a 2 month internship there. So I've worked on multiple teams there: Outlook, Azure Storage, and different teams. And before that, I was also a 6 month intern, product intern at Adobe, where I also worked on the core technology team. So I have had different tastes of big MNCs, startup, and different teams and different tech stacks. And I would say that tech is very interesting, and every day there are new innovations. But there are certain things that are not going anywhere. For example, web development or something, some common concepts like APIs and all of that, that is not going anywhere. So it's very important that we keep ourselves updated. I have also been very active in the community space, and I have been a very active public speaker. I talk at a lot of conferences. I had have been a part of multiple communities in my college life. So this is my advice to you all as well, that be as active as possible in communities and network with people. It's going to help you in your career in the long term. And I'm available on social media platforms. You can reach out to me. Here is the QR code that you can find. If you scan it, you will find my different links to my social media handles, and you can connect with me. And here is my Twitter handle as well. Now, before even getting started about what AppWrite is, let us just first talk about what is backend as a service and why you should care about it. Like, why should you know about it in the first place? So, backend as a service is basically a service, as I mentioned, which is something that a cloud provider provides. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you, since you're from tech, you must have had some or the other experience of building websites. And trust me, it gets tricky a lot of times, especially if you're getting started. If you are a second year student or a third year student or even a final year student, it's very hard to build a website end to end, take care of every small thing, writing good code, and managing different things like authentication, storage, APIs, and whatnot, like functions, etc. So backend as a service is basically a product which has everything built for you. So it's a very low code, no code solution where you can have everything built for you and you can just use it as it is. So you just have to take care of the business logic, and then everything rest is available for you, and you can just use it. So if I have to tell you what it exactly does, it basically handles all the server side operations. So you just have to take care of, okay, for example, if I want to build an e-commerce website like Flipkart or Amazon using backend as a service, I just need to see that, okay, how should the flow look like? And then I do not actually need to go and code, okay, how do I store something in my database? All of that is built for you, and it is available in the form of APIs, or you can also use it, from the console, which is just, clicks. And I'm going to show it to you how you can easily do that. But I want you to understand that it manages your entire infrastructure. Someone else, like for example AppWrite, has their cloud and the servers are placed somewhere in the world, and you do not even have to manage the infrastructure. For example, let's say you decide to build a small product and then you put it out on Twitter, let's saying that, hey, I built this, and it scales. You expect a huge spike in traffic somehow. You do not even have to care how do you scale it, because it will be taken care of for you as well. So basically, with backend as a service, you as developers can leverage a set of ready to use APIs like user management, database, file storage, push notifications, etc. Normally, you can either use them as APIs. So AppRite provides REST API, GraphQL API, and we also provide SDKs. So if you want to integrate in your front end, it's just a SDK method and you can just use it. So it makes development very easy for developers, and it is very easy to integrate your backend functionalities into your application. So if I have to talk about benefits of backend as a service, like, okay, I am a web developer, I know, let's say, coding in Node.js or Python or any other framework. So why should I use backend as a service? Like, why will it benefit me? So first of all, you have to understand that it reduces your development time and costs by a lot. Like for example, as I mentioned, first of all, you do not have to pay for the servers. And secondly, it is very fast development. So BAS eliminates the need for you as developers to build and maintain the backend infrastructure from scratch. It will enable you to accelerate development cycles, reduce the time to market for your applications. So for example, AppRet will soon have a feature where you can build something and you can also host it. So everything will be available in AppRite, and you just have to come, think of, okay, this is what I want to build, integrate a few things, and you will be ready with the product. As simple as that. Secondly, as I mentioned, scalability and flexibility. So, as I mentioned, that today it's very common for people to build some small products and put it out on, Product Hunt or Twitter, and they can generate revenue. I have had, so many people in my circle who are doing this. I have even seen people 14 to 16 years of age. They're earning thousands of dollars just by building basic products, and this is what you can do. It is very scalable. So basically, it is designed in a way that it handles the scalability demands of modern applications, ensuring that backend services can handle increasing user loads without compromising on the performance or reliability. And it is very flexible as well. So for example, let's say today you had a spike. So for example, as I talked about e-commerce, so let's say there's a sale, right? You must have noticed that whenever a sale happens, the user demand goes up suddenly. So in that case, the need to scale the server becomes a lot. Once it scales up, and let's say after a few days your demand again goes down, so it can again scale back down and your costs are saved. So you do not have to manually manage all of that. And as I mentioned, you can just focus on the core business logic. So for example, you have to design something, you can just think about the flow, and you do not really have to care about how is it implemented in the backend. So that enables you to just focus on what is really important, and taking away the load of things that can be manually automated from you. And secondly, there is an access to advanced features and integrations. So in fact, in AppNet itself, you will notice that we provide so many features for authentication. So for example, login with Google, login with Facebook, so many things are available. So many third-party services are available. You can easily integrate that into your code. So for example, let's say e-commerce again, right? So for example, you want to use a payment gateway. So it is very easy to integrate the existing solutions into your backend as a service. And they offer integrations out of the box with any popular third party service like authentication providers, payment gateways, analytics tools, and more, which again simplifies the process of incorporating these services into applications. Now, you must be wondering that, okay, we understand BAS and we want to use it. Now, what are the types of BAS providers and how do we choose what exactly should we use, and even how do we even get started by learning about them? So, I will tell you this is very basic. There are multiple providers available out there, and based on your specific needs, you can search for what is the best suited for you. So if I have to just talk about in the overall broad sense, then the first one is a journal purpose backend as a service. So AppWrite is an example of a journal purpose one. Firebase is another example, and AWS Amplify is one more example. So, what these general purpose backend as a service providers do is that they have everything. So, for example, AppRite has authentication, databases, functions, and storage, and all of that. So, all of that is available under just one product. So, if you are building an end to end website, there is no need for you to look into other solutions. Everything is available under one roof. Now, let's say that you have a very specific requirement and you need something that scales very well or has something very specific to your requirement. So, in that case, there are also specialized providers available in the market. I'm pretty sure you all must have heard of Auth0. So, Auth0 is like a very popular and powerful tool for authentication. So, if you just want something for authentication, either you can use something from journal purpose ones, or if you have very specific needs, you can go for a specialized provider. And then there are open source providers. So again, we are very proud to say that Apprite is an open source provider. All of our code is open source and it's very easy to read, understand. The documentation is amazing. So you can go check it out, even contribute to Apprite, and then you will understand it even better. And for example, if you have any specific use case, you can just reach out to the team and say that, hey, I'm building this and I want to understand how can I do this in Apprite. So that is the types of providers. And now what are the key features? Let's just talk about, okay, what all can you do if you use AppRite or any backend as a service provider? So first of all, user management and authentication. So let's say that you are building something, let's say Flipkart only or Amazon only. So you can have multiple roles. Either you can have sellers who want to sell their products. You can have users who want to, sign up and they want to do something. There can be admins, etc. So there is some user management involved. Authentication is involved. When a user signs in from one device, you store the cookies and all of that happens. And you also need to have role-based access, so you need to give, let's say that the seller should have the permission to add a product, but the user should have a permission to only view a product and add it to the cart. So all of that user management and the access control is provided out of the box to you. We provide you built-in user management functionalities, allowing developers to handle user registration, login, authentication without the need to build anything from scratch. These things are usually, like for example, email password, social media login, for example, login with Google, login with Instagram, etc. So basically OAuth, and we also provide single sign-on, which is SSO. And backend service providers also provide user profile management, permissions, user roles, enabling developers to secure their applications and control the access to resources. So I think it's very powerful. And one thing that I've noticed, I judge a lot of hackathons, and I've noticed that a lot of people, they spend a lot of time in designing sign up and login, and they never get to the core logic. So this is essentially helping you speed up your development process without having to take care of it, while also having a very secure environment of authentication. The second thing is data storage and retrieval. So let's say you just are building a e-commerce website and you have to, add something at the products and store it somewhere. And whenever a user comes, you have to generate their feed. So you also need to retrieve these data that you have stored. So you need a storage on the cloud to put this somewhere, right? So in that case, backend as a service providers also offer storage solutions to store and retrieve data for applications. It can include your databases, it can be file storage, it can be object storage, and it also provides both structured and unstructured data. For example, in AppWrite, let's say you want to use a database. So sometimes it might be possible that you have a requirement for a SQL database. Sometimes it might be unstructured data and you might need NoSQL databases. So we have something called as adapters. So we have adapters for different databases, for example, MariaDB, Postgres, CockroachDB, MongoDB, etc. So based on the use case, a user can easily choose which database they want to use, and everything in the database is already implemented. So you will just have a create table function, and you do not have to care about what syntax MongoDB uses. You will just use that create table function, and the database will be created. The table will be created for you. So it will be add attribute, it can be get attribute, it can be find in the table. All of that is built. You just have to make an API call or a function call, or access it from the UI. So the data can be accessed and manipulated using APIs or SDKs. So if you are using the front end, you can just do it from the console. And if you want to use it in your database, like in your actual development, so if you want to integrate with front end, you can use SDKs. Or if you are just a developer, you can try out the APIs as well. The again another use case is push notifications and messaging. So for example, you are shopping and there's a sale coming up, so you want to inform your users that, hey, there's a sale coming up, so you want to send them a push notification. That is also very much possible. So there's an option for sending push notifications and enabling real time messaging between the application and the user. So something like a real time chat. So you might want to integrate a chatbot into your website, so that is also possible. You do not have to build that from the scratch. You can leverage push notifications to engage and communicate with users, send personalized messages, etc. So there is tools for all of them, and there is also a capability of having real-time messaging, which will allow you to develop chat functionalities or real-time updates in your application. Another important feature, which is very important, especially when you are doing something on a production level, is analytics and reporting. So you will need to see your dashboards. You will need to see how many users are active on my website, how many users have signed up, what services are they using, is something going down. If some service is down, you need to be informed of it. So these platforms also include analytics and reporting features to track and analyze various metrics and usage patterns of the application, and these features provide insights into the user behavior, their engagement, the performance of the application, etc. And you can easily monitor the user activity, see how many users, added something to their cart but never purchased it. So, these data are very important for the PMs to see, okay, how can we improve our product? So, you need to see these charts and dashboards to see the performance. Let's say that one API is being used a lot and you see a sudden spike into the usage and it is affecting the performance of your application. So there needs to be these analytics so that you can make data driven decisions. So it's very easy to have these things through dashboards, APIs, or third party analytic tools. In fact, AppWrite has beautiful dashboards. I'm going to show you in a while. And let me also talk about scalability and security, which I've already talked about a lot. So you all know it's very easy to handle the scalability demands of an application as your application continues to grow in size. There is infrastructure scalability, allowing applications to handle increasing user load without any performance degradation, and there is also an option to have very secure transactions of data and ensure secure communication between the application and the backend service. So we take care of data encryption, access control, authentication, compliance certificates, etc. So it's like meeting the industry standards. Now, we have talked a lot about backend as a service, and now it's time to talk about what specifically AppWrite is and what AppWrite has to offer you. So, first of all, as I mentioned, we are very proud that AppWrite is an open source backend as a service platform. So, you can find the code on our GitHub. The link is I'm going to share in the next slide. We have two versions of applet available. One is a self-hosted version and one is the cloud version. What is self-hosted? Self-hosted is that you set up applet locally, so everything runs on your local laptop or local system, and your server is pinned up there. All the data that you want to store is gonna get stored into your local storage, and everything is gonna happen locally, and you can then put it out somewhere. You can build a website, and the it is going to use your local laptop as a server. And then there is the AppWrite Cloud version, which is currently free to use. And I would highly, highly recommend you to check it out. I'm going to show it to you as well. So the cloud version has different servers available in different regions around the world, and you do not have to take care of anything literally. It's like you can have multiple people use it, and it's very easy. You can access it from anywhere. The features are more advanced, and all in all, it's very amazing. It's very scalable, etc. Then we also provide a pre-built backend infrastructure and services that I have been repeatedly mentioning, that it's very easy for you to have your data backend built already. Everything is there. So it simplifies your backend development, not just for web applications, but also for mobile applications. So you will notice if you check out the SDKs of AppWrite, you will also find Flutter SDK and different languages are supported by our SDKs. I think there are some 20 languages. So no matter whichever language you are comfortable with, it's very easy to use a backend as a service, especially AppWrite. And we also offer features like user authentication, file storage, database management, a very easy API integration. So all of this provided out of the box. And if you want to join our community, since we are an open source project, you all are welcome to check out what AppWrite has to offer, and you can also contribute to AppWrite. So for example, you have a very specific use case, you are not able to understand how to set up AppWrite, you are stuck in something. Our Discord community is very active and very helpful, and I urge you all to come and join us on Discord, and you can be stay updated with whatever is happening. You can contribute, and in case you ever want to join AppRet in the future, it would be great that understand the project and have contributed to it in the past, and you can join our amazing team as well. as I mentioned that since we are open sourced, all our code is available on GitHub. So if you go to github.com/appwrite, you will find a repository, and the documentation is very amazing. It's very easy to understand. So there is very little friction for you to getting started. And we recently crossed 30,000 stars on GitHub, and we are very happy and proud of it. And if you really like AppWrite, we will appreciate if you can also add a star there, and also that will help you stay updated with whatever new features we come up with at AppWrite. Now, as I mentioned, that AppWrite Cloud is something that has been recently launched in public beta, and it is a very powerful tool. And I think since it's right now free, like in the future as well, there will be a free model. But right now, it is a good opportunity for you to try it out and check out the different features that AppWrite Cloud has to offer. So, you should definitely check it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, stop sharing this screen and take you through AppWrite Cloud, and let me show you how it looks like and how you can actually start developing something on AppWrite. So this is how your dashboard looks like, and this is the console. So if you are someone who is comfortable with just clicks, and a very low code solution, this is your go to solution. So when you go to cloud.appwrite.io, after you log in, you will see something like this. Okay, so everything in AppWrite is a project. So for example, let's say I have to design an e-commerce website. So what I'll do is I'll go and create a new project. I'll give it a name, let's say e-commerce, and I'll just create it. So this is, think of it as like one specific project, right? And once you do that, you will see that here you can get started quickly. So you can add a platform. So we have all our SDKs, and if you want to read about it, you can go to our documentation. Let me send you the link to our documentation quickly, so that you can, if in case the GitHub documentation is not clear by any chance, the AppWrite docs are very helpful, and it's totally designed for open source community, so it's very easy to understand. So I've shared that in the chat with you all. So you can click on web app, for example, and you can just give it some name, let's say test, and you can just, if you're hosting it locally, you can give it a name localhost, and that is how you can just quickly get started. So they will tell you that if you have to use it, you can just do an npm install AppWrite, or you can do this. So all of this is pretty easy. Let me show you one of the existing projects that I have. So for example, I go to React to do app. Okay, once you will create your project, this is how it's gonna look like. So there will be dashboards available. You will be able to see how much bandwidth you have been using, how many requests are coming into your website. The number of requests will also be shown here. And then you will also see the database, how many files you have in database, how does the storage look like. So if you upload something to storage, how many GBs of data you have here, how many real-time connections are here, how many users are already subscribed, and you can easily control the access, how many AppWrite functions you have, and you can also integrate it with something. So for example, I integrated with web. You can also have API keys if you want to access it somewhere. Then if I talk about authentication, this is how authentication looks like. So for example, this is my project. I can see which all users have signed up here, and I can see their email IDs. I can see whether they were verified, like two-factor authentication. You can see that here. You can see when they joined. You can also form teams. So as I was mentioning, you can make a team for vendors who want to sell something. You can make a team for users, etc. And when you go to usage, you can see how many registered users are there, and how and when they were created, how many read requests were performed, how many updates were performed, how many users were deleted. It's very easy for you to see how everything happens. You can also put some limits, how many new users can join your project. So right now the limit is 10,000 users, which is a lot. Then you can have a session limit. So for example, after these many days, they should automatically get logged out, and then they have to log in again to access it. And number of active sessions. So for example, let's say Netflix. Okay, you don't want multiple people to use the same account at the same time, so you can add a session limit. So it's very easy. You do not have to write the logic. It's very easy to, you just add it here, let's say 2. Okay, so it you cannot access this website, whatever you will create, on more than 2 devices at the same time, and you can just click on update and it will update the permissions for you. Let me show you databases. So it's very easy again to create a new database. You just have to click on create database, enter a name, create it simply. and this is how you can get started with. Collections are like tables. So let's say you want to create a table that's called product, so you can just simply create it. And attributes are like rows, so you can easily, sorry, documents are like your specific collections like rows, and then attributes are like columns, so you can just start with that. So let's say that I want to have a column as the name of the product, and then this product will be of type string, so you can just say string, and then you can give it a maximum size, let's say 256 characters. There can be a default value. You can choose whether this is required or not while creating a new database entry, and whether it's an array, etc. And you can just simply click on create. So now your column has been created, and when you can add a new row, so whatever columns you would have specified, you can easily enter their values. So for example, I am selling a laptop, so I can just say that I want to add a laptop, and then you can add permissions who can access it, and that is how simple it is, right? Everything will be available here. You can also change if you want to add more columns to your table. You can do that by creating new attributes. You can create some indexes. Indexes enable you to search something very fast. So if you have something that needs to be searched very fast, you can create an index for it. You can see activity, like which user performed which operation, which location was it performed from, what IP address, etc. And you can also see the usage, how many new tables were created, how many new rows were created, how many were read, how many were deleted, etc. So all the dashboards are available to you. If I have to talk about functions, functions is something that is kind of my favorite feature, and because I'm working on it, and it's something very powerful and something very amazing. So you can just create, what is a function? So function is like it's like a serverless function. You have your logic written somewhere and you just want to execute it. So let's say I have a Node.js function written somewhere and I just want to execute it. So it's very easy to use. So, and you can choose which runtime it is. So we support Node.js, PHP, Ruby, Python, etc. So let's say I choose Node.js, and it will ask me to, give access to some people. I can just skip all of that for now. So this function has been created for me and I can just easily deploy it. So it tells you how you can do that with easy steps. You can specify the entry point. So let's say index.js is your entry point, and then let's say you have some project somewhere, you can upload it and it will get built very easily and quickly. So let me see if I have some code ready to show. Otherwise, you can also try it out yourself. um, Cool. So I have something here. So I'll upload it and I'll just say that, okay, activate it after builds. So what Apprite will do is that whatever code you have locally, let's say you have a Node.js project, and let's say the main file which can start that Node.js project is index.js. So you can just upload that and Apprite will build it for you, and you will be able to see the output here. So when I execute this code, you will be able to see that an execution has started. It has built that code. And if I go to the logs, whatever I have printed there, so it was a very simple example. So I had just printed hello world. But you are able to see, right? You have to do nothing. It will automatically build your existing code, and you can easily see the logs. So for example, something failed and you put some error logs. So you can just see all the logs here, all the errors will be available here. And this is how you can use functions. Very powerful. You should definitely check it out. And then if I talk about storage, let's say again e-commerce, you want to upload some products. So you can just create a storage bucket. You can just give it some name, let's say products, and you can just create it. And similarly, you can just easily create, upload any file. You can either drag and drop your file. You can click on upload and you can just upload from here. You can update the permissions, like who can access it. So for example, you just want to, there is something internal and you just want admins to access it. So you can add that only admins team can access it, and then you can just create it. Okay, and it's very easy to manage it as well. You will be able to see how many new files have been created, how many have been deleted, updated, etc. You can go to the settings and all of this is available. You can update the permissions, you can enhance the security of your files, whether you want to encrypt them, etc. Encryption is there, antivirus is there. So you basically have to do nothing. And also you can update the compression algorithm. So let's say someone uploaded a file of 3 GB into your system. So since you will be the one who will be paying for the systems, you can actually compress the files when they're uploaded. So you can either upload them in the gzip format or any other format, and that is how you can customize and optimize on your storage. You can mention which all file extensions are allowed. As you can see, Apprite supports a lot of files. It can be images like jpg, png, it can be videos like mp4, or it can be pdf documents, it can be gifs, html documents, etc. And you can easily delete a bucket, etc. So as you can see, it's very easy for you to be able to create something and use it. Let me go back to my slides. Cool. So I would also like to bring to your attention that Apprite is currently running a hackathon with Hashnode, and it is a month long hackathon. It has started on May 15th. It will run till June 14th. Today is May 18th, so it's a very good time that you get to know about this. It is actually not just an opportunity for you to try out Apprite, it's also an opportunity to build something you love and also win amazing prizes. Honestly, I wish I could, myself participate in it and, try out something. So it's in association with Hashnode. How you can access this is this link. So it's hashnode.com/hackathons/app, right? So you can just go to this URL. You can register for this hackathon and check out the details. Let me quickly show you the screen as well. This is the homepage of our hackathon. If you go to this particular URL, which I'll just share in the chat as well, you can just check it out here. If I have to talk about the prices, it's amazing. We are offering 5,000 US dollars to the first grand prize winner, which is nearly, I guess, 4 lakhs. And you will also get Apprite swag and Hashnote t-shirt and a mug. And this is not the only prize. We are also giving runner-up prizes. So 5 winners will win $1,000, which is I think 82,000 today. So there are a lot of prizes, amazing money out there, and an opportunity to learn something new. You can easily learn about what is Apprite and how you can participate. All the steps are mentioned here. You can check out the app ideas. You can actually read about it on Hashnote. You can share it on social media using hashtag Apprite and hashtag Apprite Hackathon. You can tag us on Twitter, and multiple app ideas are suggested here. Very simple things to build online marketplace, like something to sell something, photo sharing app, recipe sharing app, language learning app. It's very easy to build all of this with app, right? Evaluation criteria is mentioned here. What you have to do is mentioned here, how to participate, resources as well. So if you want to learn about Apprite, you can learn about getting started. You can check out our documentation. If you get stuck with something, you can ask it on Discord, and then you can also check out Hashnode's Discord. So everything is available, and all the FAQs are also there. There's a lot of time, 26 days still remaining. It's very easy to get started and build something amazing. I will highly, highly recommend you to check it out and build something of value, and you will also be able to add it on your resume, which is a win-win, because you will be able to share that as well with your employer. Let me get back to my slides quickly. So that was mostly it from my side. So what I will suggest you is to try out Apprite Cloud, sign up there, check out the Hashnode hackathon that we are currently conducting. If you are interested, check out the code of Apprite on our GitHub. You can also find multiple, we keep on doing multiple giveaways, and we have very exciting announcements coming every now and then. So do give us a follow on Twitter and check out all the amazing things that happen here. And as always, join our Discord community and all of that. And now, if you have any questions, I'm up for it. So, if you have any questions, you can just either send it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask it to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Khushbu. There is a question about, do we have to make groups for participating in the hackathon? Which is like, yes. Basically, can you just go to the hash note page of the hackathon? Everything, every criteria is mentioned over there itself, and even the selection criterias and app ideas are also mentioned. Okay. We are having a discussion about all of these things, whatever questions you have, in our Discord channel. So yeah, definitely drop by in our Discord channel and talk to other people as well.
Great. Yes, please do check out the link that I have shared. All the information can be found in the FAQs section. And I see some questions in the chat about what is SDK and what is API. So first of all, it's not something specific to app, right? So if you're a software development student, if you're an engineering student, you should definitely know what is an API and what is an SDK. So I'll be able to, sum it up in, some detail. So what is an API? API is an application programming interface. It is just a medium of communicating to a service. So for example, let's say there is a weather API. So someone has, let's say someone has this thing where you can put the name of the city and it will return the current weather of that city. So what is an API? It's just a function call. So you just have to make a function call to that endpoint, that whatever they provide, and you need to pass the city name as a parameter, and it will return you the weather as a response. So API is something that lists that logic. So they must be doing something in the background, that they must be fetching from some server what is the temperature in the current location that you have mentioned, and they will be exposing that endpoint. That is a function call that you can make, right? So all of that can be checked out on AppRed documentation. What is an SDK? SDK is a software development kit. What that means is that it's again a set of some function calls. So, for example, there is a create table function in AppRed database. So, how can you call it from the front end? So, you can do that using the SDK. So, for example, you can just use any of the languages that we offer. So, for example, there is an SDK in, let's say, Python. So, Python will have a function for create table. So, this SDK will create a create table function, and you can just directly call it from the front end. So very simple to use. It's like how you can integrate AppWrite as a backend with your front end. So you can check that out, and you can just read about these concepts in general, and then you can also check out AppWrite's documentation to know how you can use them with AppWrite. Hope that answers. Any other questions? Like happy to answer.
Uh, if there are no questions, then we can obviously call this meeting.